welcome everybody. My name's Maralee Burnett. I'm your astrologer, back with the messages for this pretty powerful full moon in the sign of Scorpio. So in this recording, I'm going to break down the details of the full moon, which I already did in last week's recording, or the recording for this week, I should say. So if you haven't watched that yet, so you get the daily breakdown of the energy as it leads up to this full moon, you definitely want to go back to do that. Then in this video alone, we're just going to break down the events by sign. This is the most intense full moon that we have. It will in some ways feel a bit like an eclipse, right? Because there is so much intensity and change and transformation that happens when we have a full moon in the sign of Scorpio. And so we want to open ourselves up to tremendous changes, closing doors, ending chapters of things that no longer serve us. So if that sounds interesting to you, why don't you click on that subscribe button so that you get notifications every time I post new content, which is typically every weekend as far as full-length video goes, but also I do post a tarot or an oracle card daily. And with those posts, I sprinkle in a little bit of astrology so you have an idea of everything that's going on at once. You can also leave me questions in the comments that I will answer and respond to if you want a specific card reading for yourself. Let me do it for you. No strings attached. Just ask a question and I'll use it in one of my daily posts for that week. So, all that being said, make sure you're also going out to my website, maraleeburnett.com. That's where you have access to all of my written content, which of course there is an article out there already for this full moon. And if you're a subscriber to my website, then I email those, or I email a link to you to make it really simple for you to be able to access the information at any time. So I strongly encourage it. It's May 1st. It's May Day. It's a pretty important day in history. Beltane is May 1st. There's a lot of energy that is tied up with this day. As a child, you remember dancing around the maypole, which I think was pretty much the not the volleyball, but what's the tetherball? That's it, the tetherball that we would have the little strings hanging down from as a child to dance around the maypole. But it's also a day that's meant for new beginnings. It's the number 1. So this full moon, whatever we're completing now, is going to invite in a pretty incredible new opportunity that we absolutely do not want to miss. So let's talk a bit more specifically about what is going on in the sky with all of the other planets and their interactions, because that affects this full moon. And then wherever you have personal planets, especially at 11 degrees of either Scorpio and Taurus, you're going to feel this the most intensely. And any planet you have at 11 degrees will have some experience. Is it cohesive? Is it challenging? Those of you who have those kinds of energies will notice the full moon the most. So take a look at your natal chart or book a session with me. We have a few days where we could get some readings done, and to know that the full moon energy is with us for the 2 weeks following this full moon until we have the next new moon as well. So there's a lot to consider, which is why working, of course, with an astrologer is very helpful when we're trying to fully understand what needs to change. The energy of Scorpio is all about intensity, right? This is an intense water sign, and it asks you to live life to the fullest, to feel things deeply, and to not be afraid to do the things that some might consider taboo. So this Scorpio energy is associated with topics like sexuality, topics like dark magic, topics that are forbidden, all those things that fall under Scorpio energy. There's also the energy of power, intimacy, right? These are experiences that are lived. That Taurus energy are experiences we purchase. We have to gain something materially when we work with the Taurus energy. Of course, that's where the sun is shining a light. And it has something to show you differently, that you need to understand that there is a balance between what we purchase to experience and what we just feel as an experience. So the material, physical world with the spiritual or immaterial world that we get through lived experiences. Some of those experiences can be really dramatic or traumatic. All of those types of things are associated with the 8th house, which Scorpio is the 8th house from the sign of Aries. And it is all about the relationships that we have with other people. This is about death, rebirth, transformation. This is money that we gain through other types of resources. Some can be inheritances, because we are talking about the topic of death with this. And the death topic isn't just meant to be a literal death, but it is important that we let things die that no longer align with our energy, with our spirit, with our soul. They're not a part of our soul path anymore. And so this is one of those times where we can experience some very distinctive closure and endings, because we need to get back on track. And in order to do that, we have to let whatever this is go or die. And then you look at the ruling planets of Scorpio for more insight. Of course, Pluto, what we know as the ruler today, is in the sign of Aquarius. And so transformation is coming through the people. So there are ways of being of service. There are groups of people that are connected. There is the internet. All of those types of things are what are helping create the change that's needed and necessary. So this can be friend groups. It can be friend groups that you belong to that are social networks of some kind. They're leading you through a change and a transformation. Your friends might be having an intervention because there's something that you're so stuck in that you just can't even see it anymore. And they're going to help you through this process of change, which can feel a little difficult. It's very wide. And so I do expect Pluto's influence to be softer in nature because the square is 6 degrees apart. I like a really tight orb when I'm working with the Pluto energy, but maybe it affects you bigger and more immediately. So anytime we have squares to the full moon, again, there can be some pretty dramatic endings as a result of the pressure that is being presented to us at this time. Then we have the original ruler before Pluto was identified, and that was Mars. And so here we have Mars very strong in its home sign of Aries. And at the time of this full moon, that means the energy is more intense because of how strong this other ruling planet is. And so that can bring really quick change in because, of course, when Mars is fully fired up from its home sign, that means it's stronger, it's more powerful. It's why we continue to have the energy of war and escalation of war at this time. And as of the full moon, Mars is about halfway through its journey. So chances are there might be a pivot point in this war with Iran, but it's not completely ending yet. but there may be a chapter of it concluding. But we have 3 more weeks to live through. And like I mentioned, we have a couple weeks of the full moon energy. We have several more weeks of Mars in Aries. So there's still something that we're fighting through, fighting for. And over the week that follows, Mars is squaring with Jupiter. So Jupiter expands on Mars's power to fight, to be the warrior, to be the champion. And sometimes Jupiter teaches us a lesson about war by making it appear to be ridiculous. What we're doing, does it make sense? Why are we doing it? What's the purpose of it? So there is a change that is coming, and it will be an interesting one for us to keep an eye on, because as I mentioned, after the full moon, the square between that Mars and Jupiter contact will build in momentum. So the light might be draining from the moon, but this conflict between Jupiter and Mars continues. Now, Jupiter can also be a leader, like the Pope is a possibility, to be making more statements about what's going on with the war. It can just be a very generous leader of the people that wants this war to end. So something in your life, because of course not all of us are involved in what's going on in the war in Iran, but there may be a war that you're fighting in your own life in some way. And again, there's this energy, this need to change the direction that you're currently going with it. And this moment is where you might see some clarity about what you need to change and transform and release. Because of course, a full moon is about closure and release. Now, that moon in Scorpio, it doesn't enjoy its time there. It's what we call at fault. It loves the luxury of Taurus. It's exalted in that sign. But when it's in Scorpio, the moon, our emotional self, our security, right, has to face scarcity, has to face its fears. It does not feel secure here at all. Now, I'm a believer that doesn't necessarily make it bad. It's just not strong here. But we have things to learn when we're in situations where we don't feel our best. And that's what the moon's going through every month when it comes through Scorpios. I have to learn something from this experience that will help me better understand my fears, my feelings of insecurity, and my feelings of lack that I need to resolve in some way. And so that's the work that you're doing, emphasized by whatever house you have this in, which we'll be covering here in a few minutes for each of the signs. So we've talked about the 2 rulers, Mars and Pluto. The other thing about Pluto is this is the beginning of Pluto getting ready to slow down. So it's stationing to go retrograde. Now, it'll stay retrograde until, I believe it's October. And that means this work that we're doing at the time of this full moon does require a lot of internal focus. So this isn't necessarily a one and done event, but whatever the event is for you, it's then going to cause you to do some reflection inside. And maybe you're questioning why it took you so long to make this change, or what's next because of what's changed. But give yourself time, give yourself grace to work all the way through this, because behind the scenes at the time of the full moon, besides the fact that Pluto's getting ready to go retrograde, Pluto's also starting to set up this minor triangle of energy between itself, Neptune, and now, of course, Uranus has moved into the sign of Gemini. So you have these powerful outer planets of influence and change on the collective, on society as a whole, that then trickle down and affect us in some way. But they speak in harmony with one another, and that can benefit us. Now, last year they were doing similar, but in different signs. Neptune was strong in a sign of Pisces, when now it is in Aries, which again is not where Neptune is comfortable. But there is something that you're going to begin to feel that's shifting and changing in the world or in your world. And as a result of this invisible force of energy that's guiding and protecting you, change is coming from these three areas of Aquarius and Gemini, both air signs. So those trine to each other is this planet of change and surprise and innovation and freedom, with Pluto, the planet of rebirth and death and transformation. So there is big changes coming from the people, from information, from communication, from learning. And then there's Neptune in Aries, where we are standing up and fighting for ourselves. So we're still in the energy of fighting for the whole rest of this year. It's not going away, but there'll be a purpose to it that you start to understand that feels much more individual. And this is kind of a kicking off point of whatever that work will be for you. All right. Like I said, there's lots of little things going on beneath the surface, which makes perfect sense because that's the underworld, right? The moon's down with Pluto in the underworld, where we have to face our fears and learn by doing so that we can take our power back. So there is an intention that if you feel like you're stuck in fear somewhere in your life, that you want to set with this full moon to bring that to an end, to have closure so that you can step fully into your power moving forward. So, strength. Where am I looking at? Well, we also see at the time of the full moon, Saturn at 9 degrees of Aries, talking with Venus at 9 degrees of Gemini. So 9, the number of Indian enclosures. If you listen to my weekly, I talked about the fact that we have a lot of 9 energy associated with this full moon as well. That means there's endings coming. So Venus in Gemini is working in harmony with Saturn. So Saturn in Aries giving us the structure, the rules, the discipline with how we think, how we speak, how we communicate, how we spend our money and what we are spending it on. There can be some who benefit financially because of the follow through that you've been doing recently. And now there's like a little chapter that comes to a close that benefits you in some way. Learning to speak with a voice of authority, that's Venus with Saturn. There is something that you need to say. And there can be a woman or women who have something to say about the secrets that are hidden down in the underworld that they want brought to the surface to be dealt with. They don't want to live in fear anymore. And so they have something to say. And there's a person in a position of authority that's backing them up and helping their voices be heard. So there's a piece of energy and what's going on around you, but it does empower you to think for yourself and speak up in these areas and how they show up in your chart. The other collaboration we see is Mercury with Chiron. So Mercury, again, ruler of Gemini. So there's, again, the need for free speech, the need to speak up. With Chiron, the wounded healer, the need to express your pain and where you've been hurt in the past and to not let yourself be silenced. And again, 2 and 7 adds to 9. So there is something that we're learning at the time of this full moon that is helping us, like I said, close an old wound, maybe one that we keep picking at and keep getting triggered by, that we're finally done with. Like this is the end of this pain that I'm causing myself, Mercury and Aries, because so this cycle has to come to a close. So again, endings don't have to be bad. Let this be the end of something that's been a long-term fear that you want to be done with. And are you trying to transform some area of your life? Have you been working at something really hard? Have you been facing all the fears? Then again, when something comes to fullness and comes to completion, then you are stepping fully into your power. Your transformation work is being completed. And then you have all these people in your corner that are showing up to help you get this across the finish line. But change is necessary. Endings are necessary. We can't go forward the same way we have always been doing something and expect different results. This is a checkpoint where we see all the truth coming to the surface so that we can't live in denial anymore, and we embrace the changes that are being presented to us at this time. All right. There's a lot of moving pieces going on, that some of it you might only feel beneath the surface, right? This is something hidden that is trying to climb its way out. So again, if you have personal planets that are getting hit by any of these 11 degree specific planets, I think you'll notice it more. For some of us, it's just going to be this feeling you have that something is about to change. But also, trust your intuition at this time. It is going to guide you. Even though the moon isn't strong, the moon will give you a huge warning sign, because what it's strong at is being fearful at this time. So any little inkling that you're getting to say, hey, I'm going to take a different way to work today, or I'm not going to show up in this place at this time, like those kinds of urges and thoughts and things that you're thinking about, listen to them. You will be very thankful that you did. So trust your intuition when it comes to this full moon energy. All right. I can go on about that, but I think that gives you a pretty good feeling of how intense this can be, how important change is, how trusting those who show up for you at this time is going to be a big win. And the more you can embrace change, I always say, my mantra, change is good. Then let this go and let this be reborn in a way that helps you, the better this full moon will be for you. There can be weird, strange things about the past because of the fact that Pluto energy is speaking at that odd angle to the South Node. So these are old systems that just don't serve us anymore, that are falling apart or breaking apart at this time. And the more we dig in our heels, the more we try to do the same thing we've always done, you're not going to be able to continue that way, and the energy is going to make it very impossible to do such a thing. All right. Again, there's more details if you've watched the video from the week leading up to this, so make sure you go do that. Go read the article. There's a lot of little different details in there, but the biggest one I can tell you is something big is about to change our lives as a collective and as individuals. And as I mentioned, some of us will feel this more strongly than others, but be prepared for a big emotional event, especially in the few days leading up to and the few days after this full moon. And an intense experience doesn't have to be bad. I keep wanting to put that out there, but it will be intense. It will bring something buried to the surface as a part of the sun's focus on the underworld, right? So the sun shining a light on the darkness means the darkness is becoming illuminated. And for some, that's not good. What you've been doing in the dark, you don't want to be exposed. So if that's you, clean up your mess before this full moon happens. And there will be some that are caught as a result of this change and transformation. So the sun's powerful in the sign of Taurus. It's very stubborn. It's solid, right? And it doesn't like what's going on in the dark, and it's going to expose whatever that is. Okay, let's get the breakdown by sign. So as we move through each of these signs, we can take a look at what's possible. I can, of course, give you general what's possibles, but I won't know for sure because I don't know your chart what kind of interactions you'll be having with your personal planets, which will give you a much more detailed view of what could be changing in these next 2 weeks in your life. So let us take a look, starting with the sign of Aries. So as I mentioned before, Aries, this is the 8th house. So Scorpio is the 8th house from your rising sign or your sun or your moon sign. And that means these experiences for you were likely to be pretty transformative, especially because the 8th house is about death, rebirth, and transformation. So there's something that isn't aligning with your goals at this moment, and it needs to come to a close. Now, for some of you, if we think about the 8th house and it rules the money that comes to us from other resources, if you've been looking for funding, then that coming to a close would be a good thing because you finally have that loan you need, or the investment that you've been waiting to pay out finally has a big payout for you, or your tax refund comes in, right? These are all ways that we get money, but we don't directly create that money. So that could be a good way for this reward to come in for you. It does also rule over our intimate relationships. So you can get closer, or you can decide this isn't the right thing for me, and I don't want this to continue. Or again, as I mentioned, you can deal with any gaps you have that cause you to put up walls, and then that doesn't allow you to have the level of intimacy that you'd like to have with your partner. So again, it's your goals, your intentions that you're setting that are the most important. So the energy is available not to say this is what will happen. The energy is available to say this is what you have to work with. So Aries, you have the power to transform and change your life right now. You have the power to face your fears and do it anyway. So a huge change and transformation is possible, especially Aries, because of all of the energy that is in your sign from Neptune and Saturn and Mars and Mercury and Chiron. Like, if you don't take advantage of this opportunity right now, you will regret it, because it's not coming back with this level of intensity and focus on you and healing yourself as it is right now at this very moment. So go change your life, Aries. You'll really be glad that you did. All right. And then up next, of course, then we have the sign of Taurus. So Taurus, you, of course, are getting a lot of focus and attention because the sun is sitting in your sign. So you are feeling the most intense energy as far as this opposition goes, this need to balance something. Well, the thing that you have to learn to balance right now is your relationships. It's the seventh house. So these are the very serious relationships that have lasted a long time for you. It can be a marriage, it can be a business partner, really close friendship. It can also have something to do with commitments, because that's also what we see. Contracts, business contracts. So there's something that needs to be rebalanced in your relationships at this time. And if there's been any power struggles in those areas, then this is a really good time for you figuring out how you can meet in the middle. So an ending or closure to a relationship, or a goal that you and your partner have can, again, come to a close. And if you are wanting to revive a relationship, then of course that Scorpio energy will help you tear down what's not working and then rebuild something stronger. Bring life back to a relationship that's become stagnant in some way. So relationships need to change, or your goals for your relationships, you need to finish the work and bring it to completion. So if you've been considering getting married, for instance, and you've been dragging your feet about it, well, now might be time to face your fears about marriage and commitment and do it anyway. Taurus, you are a very fortunate sign, and the sun's there supporting you, but you need to consider your partner at this time, because they have something important to share with you. And if they're not valuing you, then those relationships and friendships and business arrangements, they need to come to an end. And then that means something new, something better can come in and replace them. So we do not attach fear that a relationship or a marriage even could come to an end. There's just a chapter about the relationship that has to come to an end. It doesn't always mean the whole thing, but there will be intensity, there will be conflicts in the week leading up, and those are the relationships that you need to take a step back from, understand your triggers, and then jump in and do the work and get really honest with your partner about what you're afraid of, and see if you guys can get on the same page so that your relationship is reborn. The phoenix is rising out of your relationship house. And that's a great energy as long as you set the intentions to work with it and not self-sabotage. All right. Next, we'll have Geminis. So Geminis, your life is starting to be lit up because you have, of course, Uranus in your sign, and it's going to be here for the next 7 years. So this is just the beginning of big changes for you. So if you have Taurus friends, ask them how their life's been changing since 2018. What did they break free from? What did they change suddenly? Maybe they changed several times. But now it's your turn. And this full moon for you is happening in your 6th house of the work you do, your health, your day-to-day activities, your pets. And so something that is no longer healthy for you is coming to an end and to a close. So if you have unhealthy habits, this is a great time to step into your power and take control over the foods you eat and how you exercise. This is, again, the beginning of the Phoenix rising moment for you in your day-to-day life. This can be about being of service to other people. And if you've been putting in too much time at work, or too much time volunteering, or too much time taking care of your pets, or whatever the thing is that you're overdoing, that you're too fanatical about, then this is, again, a great time to pour energy into changing what's going on in your day-to-day life so that it serves you and benefits you, instead of you just feeling drained and just continuing to give and give and give and not getting anything back. So it's time to change things up. And with Uranus also in your sign saying the same thing, this is the greatest time that you'll have to grab a hold of this energy of change and do things a little different than you would have ever expected for yourself. It could be a great time to change jobs. And if one ends suddenly, let it go. You have to trust the process and have faith that whatever ends now, it's for a good reason. And again, if you may have to lose a pet at this time, or you may finally find a diagnosis or, a way to help your pet recover, because the sixth house rules pets as well. And we still have that south node going through Virgo. So I expect you Geminis to really see some significant changes in what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, because of the combination of the full moon here and that south node speaking to the ruler of the full moon in a weird, unusual way. So it may not be straightforward. It may not even be right at this moment, but there is this undercurrent of change that's needed and necessary. And only you know what that is in your own life. But I would suspect that over the next several weeks, especially as this Uranus energy really digs in and you feel electrified with the need to change, that those changes will start happening. So my only caveat with that is this isn't the time to be reckless. So don't just walk in to your boss's office tomorrow and say, I demand a raise or I'm out of here. You still need to be thoughtful. Yes, it would be a great time to speak up and say, I feel like based on the work that I've been doing, it's time for us to have a compensation conversation. It's not about being confronting. It's just speaking with authority and coming across with what you want in a way that's respectful, and then the change will follow. So things are about to change in your life in a big way, Gemini, which I know you like change. So I think this will be an exciting 7 years for you as Uranus moves through, as long as you're open to it and open to the changes, and that you don't necessarily get to direct, but you love to learn new things, and you are about to be amazed at how much you can learn. But you do have to let go of those things that if you were to hang on to them or keep doing would block your ability to grow and change and be excited about what your life looks like going forward. All right. And next we have Cancer. So Cancer's fellow water sign. So this means, especially if you have 11-degree Cancer energy, that this full moon energy is aligning with you in some way. So is it your sun? Is it your rising sign? Is it your moon? And so a trine means that there is an opportunity that will be presented to you as a result of this full moon, as a result of whatever ends now, or whatever you decide to end. It's going to open a new opportunity for you. And that new opportunity is in your 5th house. So this is that energy that rules over your children. It rules over your hobbies. It rules over anything that speaks to your heart. It rules over romance. So there can be a chapter ending that's no longer working for you, so that you can open this new doorway to something that, your heart will be excited about. So if you've been feeling kind of blah and no passion for anything in your life recently, then this is going to awaken that desire that you have for closeness, for intimacy, for doing something with purpose, for, enjoying this power that you have, maybe in attracting in somebody, because this is, of course, that romantic energy. And with it being a trine, it's something that could really be a life-changing relationship. So I've been saying this, whatever is showing up for you at this time, you need to say yes, and you need to make changes, especially Cancer, because you in the week ahead, especially with the 19 degrees of Cancer or 5 before or after, I mean, Jupiter is a large influence. With the square to Mars, it is saying to you, it's time to make some big changes. That Mars energy is influencing you from the ninth house. So this full moon event for you, especially middle degree Cancers, I think this is something that you will look back on and recognize as a turning point where you decided that you were going to pursue what your heart wants, what you are most passionate about. So going forward, you can feel fully. Now, for some of you, it could be something in your child's life that is coming to an end or coming to fullness or completion. I think it's something that would be good news and that you would celebrate with them because of the fact that this full moon is making a trine to your sun sign. So around the time of the full moon, you want to do things that help you reconnect with your heart, or maybe help you reconnect with your children, right? Fifth house things. And in doing that, something important is awakened within you again. And there's some excitement. Maybe a project that you're going to do with one of your children could present itself to you. But your heart is about to be open wide. So that suggests that it is time to let go of anything that has brought you pain. Maybe you've vowed you'll never date again. And with the help of this full moon, that could change in some way for you because you're finally done letting the past control how you feel going forward. And so you can end that for yourself and then have this really joyful experience going forward. And maybe if you've had a difficult relationship with one of your children, then at the time of this full moon, you can reconnect, you can repair the damage, and bring, happiness and joy back into your lives by reviving the connection between the two of you. So again, whatever it is, if you have an old hobby that you haven't thought about in a long time, then this energy is the perfect time to revive it or pour some life back into it because you never finished it. Whatever this is, it is about bringing your heart and your joy center back to life and making changes in the week that follows that will keep it open and keep it alive. All right. Next, we have Leos. So, Leo, this is happening in your fourth house of home and family. This is the foundation of your chart. This is your ancestry. This can be things to do with your mother. There is this change and transformation going on. So it's a really good time for you to do things around your house, to revive it, to bring it back to life. Some of you may instead decide that the home you're in currently no longer serves you. So you're ready to close the door on that one and move on. Whatever you're doing, you're reviving this place where you feel safe and secure. And if you no longer feel that way about the place that you live, then you have to put some energy and effort into creating changes. So again, the feeling of home is reborn and rebirthed for you in some ways. So you're another sign where you could be working to revive a relationship with a mother figure or your family in general. That is definitely a possibility. There's this need to maybe end a family squabble that could come up in some way. So the past, of course, is going to determine what this is about for you. There is definitely a need, though, to create some change at home. Now, sometimes it can just be as simple as the energy at home has just gotten toxic, it's stagnant, and you can change that up. You can use a Bagua map if you know feng shui. You can just redecorate. You can refresh your pillows, or you can move the furniture around, especially if there's a particular area based on the Bagua map that isn't working for you. That room would be a perfect one to focus your intentions on, reviving and bringing life back into it again. But it's about change and transformation. So if you don't want to move, or you don't have the money to be doing some big remodel, then do the little things that can still refresh the energy at home. And it's your home, your body, right? So this is good energy to be doing cleanses, to revamping your diet, all those things that affect your body. You could set the intention to revive your literal self. What do you need to feel strong, right? From the 4th house, we see that sun in the 10th house of our success. And so the sun's saying, hey, you want to be successful, then you need to shore up your belief in yourself. You need to shore up your own foundations. You need to repair things. If your house isn't in order, since the house is what supports your success, it's hard to be successful. So I'm telling you, sometimes we need to get simpler on what's blocking our success. And it could just be that really messy room that you have at home that you've never dealt with. And this would be the perfect time to do the work at home. And then you might be surprised how much your career starts to take off as well. Especially considered we have a really beautiful new moon in the sign of Taurus that comes in 2 weeks. So just saying, take a look around the house and see what you need to freshen up, Leos, and watch your star rise. All right. Next, we have Virgos. So Virgos, I keep telling you, we're getting closer. Just till the end of July. This is the last bit of work, of release that you need to do with that South Node. And with this full moon happening in your 3rd house, this is a really good time to be letting go of ways of thinking, being self-critical, talking down to yourself, and even how we talk to other people needs to change. Now, there can be some fear with speaking up when we have that Scorpio energy in our 3rd house. We have to pay attention to how we speak up, however, because as we know, Scorpios have a very harsh sting. And when that sting comes from your 3rd house, what you say and how you say it to other people can be very hurtful. If that happens to be you, then this is an ideal time to clean that behavior up and to apologize to anybody that has been on the receiving end of your stinger and try to repair that. Because you do have the power to transform other people with the words you say. So you could potentially be uncovering a desire to become a coach of some kind. But again, you have to keep in mind the intensity of your words, even when you don't realize them, if you decide to pursue something along those lines. But this is also a chance to revive your place in the community. It could be reviving the relationships you have with your extended family members, maybe siblings, maybe cousins. You could, again, come together with some kind of purpose that makes a positive impact on your community. And again, the biggest focus is going to be in your head. This is where we have to get out of our head to stop being on the hamster wheel of doom and gloom, and definitely not speaking out loud all the things that are running in your head that aren't real. This is the time for you to face your fears, Virgo. You don't have to be perfect. It's okay to make mistakes, and you don't have to be so hard on yourself when you're not as perfect as you think you need to be. So there's a whole rewiring of your mind right now and its connection with the words that you say that you can really delve into. The other thing about Scorpio energy is it's psychological in nature as well. So this is a good time for talk therapy. If you are feeling like you can't get out of this cycle that you feel like you're stuck in, now's the time to end those cycles, get the help you need, and move forward in some way as a result. All right. Next, we have Libras. So Libra, this could be some exciting changes for you in the second house that rules the money you make. And of course, you have to typically have a job to be making money, but whatever your source of income is, maybe a piece of it is ending and changing. So you could be stepping up to a new level in the work that you do. And of course, new money would come to you as a result of that, because we're talking about the sun shining light from the 8th house, which is your partner's money and all those topics we discussed at the beginning, which is any kind of source of income that you don't directly create. So there can be some tension between you and your partner based on what's changing in the way that you're making money at this time. So it's really important that we check in with our attachment to fear and lack when it comes to our money situation, because how we think about money, our relationship to money, is a direct impact on what we have in our bank account. So you can be a sign that has a lot of ups and downs when it comes to jobs, when it comes to making money, and you need to take a closer look at how you're helping to create that because of how you think about money, how you speak about money, how your family experienced wealth or didn't. So there's some deep psychological work about money that if you do at this time, you could have great breakthroughs and finally stop being on the roller coaster of up and down as far as debts and the money you make goes. So use this to put an end to that so that going forward, you are fully stepping into your power. Now, if you don't have a job that does give you a good amount of freedom, a lot of opportunity for changes, and a lot in your day-to-day life needs to change, right? You do need this roller coaster of ups and downs in the work that you do. You can't have a job that just is all up all the time or it's all down, right? You need variety. So people with Scorpio energy in their second house are great detectives. They're great project managers, problem solvers, and anything to do with death and the occult. Like you should have no fear. Like you have to have intensity, but you can create that intensity by creating a crisis and always changing jobs. Or you can learn to find a job that you have intensity around. Now, anything to do in the financial markets, of course, aligns with that Scorpio energy as well. So big changes are coming, Libra, in the area that rules the money that you make. So show up and do the work if you're struggling, and watch maybe a goal or a dream come to fruition with the help of this full moon as well. And maybe it's time that you got that next level up position that you've been keeping an eye on. All righty. And then, of course, Scorpios, this is your full moon. It's all about you. You are in the spotlight, and the people shining the spotlight aren't you right now, of course, are those that you are in close, serious relationships with. So your marriage partner may reflect an image back to you that you don't like, and you need to do some work on yourself. Or they're doing an amazing job of lifting you up and helping you believe in yourself again. But there's a piece of you, or there's work that you've been doing on yourself, because this is the first house, that is ready to come to a close, so that this personal transformation journey that you've been on can be completed. It can't go on forever. We can't always be a work in progress. At some point, we have to finish the work and then take the next step forward. And so let the people in your life, your close friends, it could be a boss or your partner, your spouse, they are the ones shining a light so you can see the truth about yourself. And that can be both good and bad, right? Knowing and accepting who you are and letting yourself be who you are, instead of always, again, picking on yourself or creating some kind of self-sabotage situation. That can come to an end at this time. And you too are another sign where you can become the phoenix rising, right? Rising from the ashes now and stepping fully into your power and finishing this transformation work so that you are strong going forward. So a lot of things going on around you at this time too. So if you're feeling triggered, Scorpios, you need to just take that step back and look completely at what is going on. Not what the actions are showing or telling you, but feel into them so that you begin to gain a good understanding of what has to change. And sometimes it's just your way of thinking about the situation. But you've got a lot of energy aimed at helping you close a chapter that just doesn't fit you anymore and starting fresh and new. So take full advantage of it, Scorpios. And next we have Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, you have a full moon in your 12th house that rules the subconscious mind, that rules things that are hidden. And that means that something needs to come to the surface for you to be able to bring it to an end or to a close. Again, it can be a way of thinking for the subconscious mind. It can also involve the organization that you work for that could be going through some kind of a transformation and change. And as a result of their transformation and change, that's going to present a new opportunity for you. So with the sun shining a light from the 6th house of work, I do feel like there is the potential for, corporations to go through some big changes or upheaval or restructuring that then trickles down and creates change for you. And again, it doesn't have to be a bad change, but it will end up changing, your position within that organization as a result of what is about to transpire. Now, the 12th house can also have to do with hospitals. So if you've been on a healing journey of some kind, then a chapter of that journey is coming to a close. And again, if you're someone who's been living in fear and is anxious and lets those fear thoughts rule over them, then you can step into your power at this time. Do the work, face your fears, release them. And when you release those fears, then they become your superpower instead. So face whatever this is head on. Don't be afraid of the dark, the subconscious mind, because there's a truth there that you need to learn in order for you to succeed, right? Sun, 6th house, sun, 6th house of health and work. So there is a big opportunity coming. Now, it could be that the, changes within the organization then do, put pressure on what you've been doing in your day-to-day life, but go with it. You'll figure out how to make this work and bring the balance that's needed in order you to succeed. Then we have Capricorns. So Capricorn, this is happening in your 11th house of friends and networking groups. So there's something ending that has something to do with a project maybe that you've been working on. And as a result of the project ending, then some of the people that you've really enjoyed working with would go away. It could be a friendship that it's not healthy for you anymore, and that would need to end. But whatever you're ending is going to invite in new opportunities. So there'll be new people that you'll end up working with again that you love and enjoy. There will be new friends that come in or maybe come back, right? Because this is about rebirth. And so this energy can help revive a relationship that got misaligned in some way, shape, or form. And finally, you or that person figures out a way to heal, how to speak up in a way that's different this time. But if you're in toxic relationships that it never seems to end, you have the power to end those and to end the toxic treatment that you've been receiving as a result of this group that you're a part of. So this, again, the people that are currently a part of your life that you're connected with, there's something about those people that they could be changing, and then that's affecting you. There's definitely something changing in your relationships with these friends, whether they're work or personal, that is going to help you put an end to something that's been maybe hanging over your head for a long time. And then you'll have better, healthier relationships going forward. Next, we have Aquarius. So Aquarius, as I mentioned, Pluto is slowing down and will start its retrograde on the 6th. So there's some things that you've been awakened to. And as a result of this full moon that is going to be happening in your 10th house of career and notoriety, you know there's some work that you have to do on yourself in order to take your career to the next level. So this is a really good time for you to be focusing in on, the support that you get from home in order to succeed as you should in your career. And so this could be a time where you are looking at your family and how they help you or detract you from being able to do the work you do. Or maybe you're almost working too hard and you're not realizing the effect it has on your family members. So there's something that you need to bring back into balance and look at your priorities. And Pluto work is slow. Again, it's very psychological in nature. So it's something we work on very internally and we process very slowly. But through this processing, we're going to start to realize how to better balance work life and home life. And it may take a little time for you to make those changes, but it will be really worth it in the end when you do just that, because then suddenly with the right support at home, you are able to do more and believe in yourself more. And that is a huge benefit, obviously, to your ability to succeed in your career. So Scorpio, 10th house for you, Aquarius, that's a career that can really take you places. It can take you through a lot of changes as well. And that's what you need. You need a lot of change. You need a lot of variety. You do need intensity. You need to solve problems. You need to be able to investigate and find the answers. And when you're doing all of those things, then your career has the chance to truly take off and transform in a really important way. So definitely be open to learning new things, especially with that Uranus energy also in an air sign. empowering you positively, Aquariuses, and it's your ruler. So you, like Gemini, Aquarius, are about to go through some huge change and transformation, and this full moon might just be the first chapter of change that's headed your way. And I do think it's a positive change in career for you. So let me know how that's shaping up. And last but never least, we have Pisces. Pisces, this is your ninth house of higher education, growth, expansion, spirituality, the bigger picture. So if you're afraid, Scorpio, of growing and changing and stepping fully into your power, then you're going to have to face your fears, and you are going to have to stop playing small and let yourself step up and be recognized for, the expert that you are. Because the ninth house is, the guru on the mountainside. Now, this is a really good time if you've been considering continuing your education in some way to do just that. So to sign up, to take the class, to take the course, to go back to school and finish a degree or get another one, then the energy supports you, right? You're concluding that. And if you've just been dragging your feet because you're trying to finish your MBA, but you've been making all kinds of excuses, or write that thesis, or take that PhD, well, this is when the energy supports you the most to conclude any fear conversations you're having with yourself, or anything financially that's blocking you from maybe going back to school. Then all of that can magically wrap up so that you can invest in yourself and allow yourself to go big. So that energy is in your third house from the sun's perspective, shining a light on what you already know and how that's going to help you go further than you've been letting yourself go so far. So go big, Pisces. That's what the ninth house has to say for you. All right. So there we have it. That is the big picture story. But again, that Scorpio energy is very psychological in nature too. So some of the changes are just happening on that level, that you are, dealing with this fear that you're not enough. And if you put that fear aside and believe in yourself, that's where those big giant transformations can happen. And again, we've got to pay attention. So we can't be numbing ourselves at this time either, right? Scorpio energy can be very good at numbing themselves so that they're not facing the trauma. And you cannot do that with this full moon, or you'll miss the opportunity. So keep that in mind as you're going through this energy, that be brave enough to face it in a state of purity, with nothing blocking, numbing your energy, and just allow yourself to be raw and feel it and go all the way through whatever this is under your own power, because great breakthroughs are definitely possible. All right, guys, that is it for this full moon. Let me know in the comments if this week starts getting intense for you and what you're starting to sense with your spidey senses about what's changing and coming to fullness or completion for you. And trust your instincts more than anything else. If something feels off, don't do it. Just stay away from it. And again, trust your gut. All right, guys, we will talk later. Not sure if there's a lot to talk about in next week's energy. The biggest challenge is going to be that Jupiter square Mars. So I'll feel into if I think we need to discuss it more. But if not, then of course we will be right back as we start to head into that delicious new moon in the sign of Taurus that rewards us for doing the work, for ending the things that no longer serve us. You'll get rewarded like immediately. So do it. Let it go. Get ready. I'm here for you if you need me. Book those sessions, and I will talk with you soon. Take care, everybody.